What got me into spirituality and all this kind of stuff? What got me into it was being really fascinated with space, like stars and galaxies and all that kind of stuff. Because it's a great feeling. It's like fuck. Like you look up at the stars on a clear night, and it just fucking blows your mind that the location, like your location, where you are, fucking blows your mind. Like you're so small. Like this planet is so small. See, it's not a concept. Like it's not a concept that you think about. It's a feeling that you get. Yeah, it's experiential. Just a few minutes ago, I was outside looking up at the stars, and I like to kind of perceive it as instead of like I'm looking up, I like to perceive it as like I'm looking straight ahead. Because I mean, up, down, left, right, it's all relative, right? In the absolute sense, there is no up and down and all that. So, and if the Earth is turning, if you see like a picture of like the solar system, like a fabricated picture of a solar system, and say like the bottom of the Earth, is at the bottom. Well, the people on the bottom of the Earth, they don't perceive that to be the bottom, right? When they look up at the stars, right, that's up to them. But on this kind of picture of the solar system, they're looking down, right? So it's like, just imagine that it's like you're, the Earth is here. This is the picture of the solar system. The Earth is here, and you're here. You're standing here, right? But to you, it's that because of gravity, right? You don't perceive life fucking sideways. You perceive it like that. So you look up and there's the stars, but instead, like in this picture of the solar system, it's like that. So when you look up, you're actually looking straight ahead. That's a perception I like to have, because it's like I'm on a spaceship. It's like I'm on a spaceship, and the kind of atmosphere is the window. And it's like I'm moving or stationary, whatever, but it's like it just goes on and on and on and on and on infinitely. That's just like, oh, shit, man, that's just really fucking profound. You look up and you just imagine it going on and on and on and on. Right in front of you, it just goes on and on and on and on. look up at all the stars, and then you like locate yourself in relation to these stars, and it's like, fuck, man, like. Yeah, it's a nice concept to meditate on, especially when you're looking up at the stars. You know, it's right there. It's a fucking great concept to meditate on, because so I was in my like space phase, where that's all I was fascinated by this kind of profound feeling of like infinity and being so like minuscule in the grand scheme of the cosmos. But these days I'm more fascinated about, you know, sort of the here and now, the kind of microscopic rather than the macro, right? Instead of like going out and out and out and out and going like, wow, man, like I'm so small in this big thing. I'm coming back more to kind of like just this, like, you know, here's a table, here are my hands, here are the sensations in my body, you know, here's this little kind of world. But of course it's not little, it's just medium sized to us, it's normal size to us. But also at the same time, it's like size is relative. Because to like a really microscopic creature, like some bacteria or whatever, like this fucking drink bottle cap, this bottle cap is enormous, it's the size of a planet, right? Like there's something in existence that if they perceived this, it would be as big as the Earth. So size is relative, you know, it's you can perceive yourself to be a giant, a fucking giant. Right, you can perceive yourself to be as big as a planet, you know, because it's in relation to something smaller. Or you can perceive yourself to be like a little bacteria, like the most tiniest thing, an atom. You can perceive yourself to be an atom in a world of all like these tiny atoms. Like your whole body is one atom. You can perceive yourself to be that small. And yeah, I love that perception. To look up at the stars and see, to see that this whole Earth that we're on is just one atom. That's how fucking small we are. Because when you perceive like that, there's no problem and there's no purpose. There's nothing you have to do and there's nothing you have to achieve. It's just, you know, and I think this is precisely why I was initially fascinated with space, because it opened me up to the fact that there's literally nothing to do here. There's nothing to achieve or attain or gain. Everything's just fine the way it is, and I don't have to prove myself to anyone or myself. Like, we just exist. And there's no rule book saying that we have to do something and not do something. And, you know, that gave me such freedom. That's why I was so fascinated by this, because you We're looking out at this fucking grand scale. And you realize that you're so fucking small, and none of your worries and your anxieties matter at all. You know, like, they occur, but you don't have to make them out to be like this big thing, like, oh my god, I'm anxious, or oh, I'm feeling depressed, oh no. It's like, if you put that into perspective in the whole grand scale of the cosmos, it's really the most minuscule thing ever. But at the same time, you know, the true freedom would be for you to be able to play around with scale. So if you're feeling anxious, for an example, you have the opportunity to perceive this anxiety to be the most minuscule thing, not significant at all. Look up at the stars, perceive infinity, and it's not about trying to get away from the anxiety. It's just about seeing that it's about tuning into a truth, right? It's not about like, oh, I'm gonna try and get away from this anxiety by seeing how big everything is. No, it's just seeing the truth, to put things into perspective, right? So you can do that, or you can see your anxiety to be like the biggest thing ever. You can perceive your anxiety, you can like fill up your anxiety as if it's like the size of the universe, the size of a fucking planet, right? Fill it up, make it the biggest thing ever. And you probably think like, why the fuck would I do that? Well, the point of doing that is to feel it, to understand it, right? See, the perception of seeing, your physical feelings of anxiety, to perceive that as like minuscule is a way to deal with it. And the other way, perceiving it to be like the biggest thing ever, is another way to deal with it. There are two good ways of dealing with it. To perceive it to be like as big as a fucking planet, like takes up all this space. To do that is it's good if you want to kind of understand it, be curious about it, really go into the heart of what it actually is. So I would say experiment with both of these. You want to be able to take an atom and expand it to the size of the universe. And you want to also be able to take the universe and contract it down to the size of an atom without actually changing its size. Right? So you're not like getting an atom, and this is all like fabrications, but they're like imaginations, but it really helps you get a good picture of scale and relativity. So if you take an atom, what you're not doing, you're not taking an atom and like blowing it up, increasing the size so it takes up the size of, say, a planet. That's not what you're doing. What you're doing is you're taking an atom and zooming in and in and in and in until an atom becomes as big as the Earth is, as big as the planet is right now, for you now, right? And the same thing with with, say, taking a planet, you're not scaling the planet down and down and down. What you're doing is you're zooming out and out and out and out to see that this planet is the size of an atom relative to this other big shit. Because I mean, like, when you look up at the planets in the sky, they are the size of fucking... They're really small. It's like this tiny little dot. But if you were to go on that planet and get a microscope and look at the very microscopic things, or look at the atoms, you know, you'd see that it's really fucking massive, right? So it's all relative, and and so, yeah. It's fun to see both sides of this, like you know, you could have like a glass of water. You have a glass of water, and you could look at this glass of water, shake it about and stuff, and imagine that, like, the movement of this water is like a massive wave crashing down, and you're like a giant. You can imagine this water as like the whole of the Pacific Ocean, and you're a fucking giant observing it, right? Because that's what it is. I mean, you are a fucking giant relative to something smaller, right? And on the flip side of that, you can view the whole ocean as small as this glass of water, right? If you take a rocket ship, go up to space, and look down at the Earth, then the Pacific Ocean is this size. You know what I mean? It's the size of a cup. So, I don't know, I just wanted to make this video because I was just outside looking up at the stars, and I've kind of lost touch with this feeling, because it is a different feeling. It's yeah, and I fucking love it. It's really profound. It really helps you see the insignificance in your own little petty problems, and just the whole of society. Like, if you know, look up at infinity, well, this Earth is like, there's no purpose, there's nothing to do, nothing's wrong. You see, nothing's wrong. You don't need to make anything right, everything's fine just the way it is. And so, you know, it's a fucking lovely perspective to have. But yeah, at the same time, we are this size, and we have this world in our own size, you know. Like, to me, I'm in this room. It's a pretty big room, but it's the smallest shit in the world, you know. In the scale of the world, it's small. I mean, you look at like an ant on the floor, and you think like, this ant's not important. This ant's just an ant, and you like step on it, and it's like, oh, whatever, stepped on it, it's died, whatever. but like that ant experiences the same world as you. Like it experiences the same size. Like that ant doesn't perceive its world to be small or less than your world because you're big, right? Like like people don't want to hurt animals, you know. People go vegan because they don't want to hurt cows and pigs and stuff like that. But they're, you know, some people don't care about, you know, squishing spiders or something. But you know, because and the reason is because, you know, the reason is because if you hacked off a leg from a cow, you would hear its screams and you would feel something from that. But if you just like plucked a leg from a spider, you'd be like, whatever, you know. But that spider's probably like in excruciating pain, and it's just because, you know, we're on a scale. But as a spider or an ant, you know, they're living in a different scale, but scale is relative. If you were a spider or an ant, you know, it would. I think you kind of get what I'm saying here. It's like the difference between a cow and a spider. There is no difference. You know, like the tiniest little insect compared to like a blue whale. There's no difference. Like they probably experience the same amount of suffering. I mean, I don't know, but it's, yeah. But yeah, I'm kind of that perception of looking up at the stars is quite addictive. I want more of it because I just feel like there's more to it. I feel like I can gain a lot of insights from it, but it's hard to kind of conjure up that feeling, you know, because we constantly come back to like, oh no, but I've got problems, you know, that kind of shit. Like, oh no, that's not the real world, this is the real world. All the little petty things you have going in your life, or your little garden variety anxieties, are minuscule in the grand scale of things. I don't know. Anyway, just wanted to share that.